I was watching television um, and saw Sarah Palin with her video response to, I guess, the shooting in Tucson, as well as her critics. And she is, purporting to be eloquent and profound. One thing I'd like to see start happening, and you can't make a law on this, but at least the culture should change in which people should write their own speeches because it's dangerous. You have somebody who comes on with a nice speech and you think that this person is smart, but it's some person who wrote the speech for them. Um, and I think that this is wrong because you're going to vote for somebody based on the speeches they make when they're that should be plagiarism, reading somebody else's speech like it is yours. Another thing, we have people writing books for others and then they call themselves authors, like Snooki. Snooki can't read and write properly. How she could write a book? Even though it sounds like broken English, they just try to make it sound like she's speaking, but I don't think she wrote that book. Um, long ago, like Beck and Handel and Liston and just Joplin and all these people, they have added credibility and status to musicians. And so these musicians today are becoming big stars. And you'd want to think that they wrote the music and they wrote the lyrics and they arranged it themselves. No, they got people who did that. They just like a what do you call it, a migrant worker. They just come out and just you know do what the person said to do, and they become a star making big bucks. They don't know anything but music. They can't even read and write to write any lyrics anywhere. They can't arrange nothing. But you generally tend to think that since they're performing, they're the one that has done it, and this is a tragedy. So coming back to Sarah Palin, she talks about blood libel, and it seems to me that most of the comments and criticisms were people speaking as opposed to writing. I haven't seen much people be writing about her. Um, or else she's either responding to the couple that might be there in writing that I'm not aware of. But the majority is like slander, people being saying things. Maybe she doesn't know there's another word to that slander. Um, she's talking about the First Amendment rights, in which um, Senate Congress lady Gifford was in um, Congress and she was reading the Constitution. And the same one that she was emphasizing is the same one that came back and bit her. But then she says that somebody come back now making a law against speech and whatever. You see, if there wasn't this so-called freedom of speech, she wouldn't have been able to make it nowhere because she's talking stuff that you can't even verify. She's talking crazy, and she's become a celebrity the more crap she talks. In fact, while she was talking, I was telling myself, you know what? Black people are seen as being inferior, okay? And we like white people. So I'd like her to go down to our countries, to the Caribbean or to anyone, the colonies, and run for president and see if she'd make it. Because the guys that are mostly our leaders have been to Oxford, London, or Cambridge, or the University of the West Indies. And you don't get there except you're real good. To get into the Oxford, London, and Cambridge, you have to be like within the first 2% of the society, or maybe 1%, or maybe a fraction of a percentage in society. One, and secondly, to go to the University of the West Indies, you have to be in that same category, but you hadn't performed as perfect as it were. In other words, after 7 years of high school, you would have written four subjects, and the guys who go on to Oxford, London, and Cambridge would have had A's in that four. But those who get a couple, maybe two A's and two B's, or four B's, or any other combination other than straight A's, will end up going to the University of the West Indies. And again, that is maybe the first 1%, less than that, of the society. So that people with high school diploma, they work in a factory. You don't go anywhere. Um, Associate of Arts, you don't go very far. You got to be a doctor, and a doctor is somebody who knows everything. Who could speak other languages or they're acquainted with other languages. They know everything that they study from elementary right up to the doctorate. They could defend the doctorate. They could defend, you know what I mean? So I watching her in a society like ours, and I say like, shucks, nobody will listen to her. She wouldn't even be a celebrity. Now I'll make another video on how people like the deputy that is inferior to them, like how Ronald Reagan take Bush and Bush took Quayle. Can you imagine who Quayle would have taken? And then the person that Quayle took, who they might have taken. And then you have John McCain. He afraid to have somebody like Obama or Clinton, Hillary Clinton as his running mate because they might be smarter than him. So he needs somebody that is dumber than himself. So he took Sarah and made her a big star. And you can imagine who she want to run with her. Maybe she'd take Paul to run Paul or somebody. I don't know. Anyway, so I think that her speech may make no difference. It hasn't changed my mind because she's trying to talk about trying to equate shooting as to the ballot and so on, eh, or talk of violence to the ballot and so forth. I think that she needs to stop her rhetoric. She needs to stop, you know, using guns in ads and using analogy to guns and so forth. Because although people aren't in her party or support her or whatever, they are being traumatized by her gun talk and her dangerous, threatening talk. And some of them are that crazy enough to want to go and act out the stupidness they're saying. So basically, um, I hope that the rhetoric is toned down and we start raising the level of expectation and education. And also, we expect people to write their own speeches. And we know that it's not going to be perfect, but we want to hear your own thoughts, okay? So that we should start looking at whether reading somebody's speech is not plagiarism without giving them credit. We don't know that it's somebody who wrote it. We believe it's you, and it's not you. Therefore, it's plagiarism. Okay, even the books that you claim are yours that you write again, that is fraud. So we need to stop that. And when we stop that, and we expect people to behave intelligent and speak sensibly, then we can get rid of half of these people, Rush and Sarah and Glenn Beck and some of these folks that don't know what they're talking about. We get rid of them.